Mr. Herbert Mwachiro is not a new name in the corridors of sports in Kenya. Having worked in the sports industry for a time span of over 30 years, he better understands the landscape. On this week's episode of Side Chat with Nation, we get to talk to him about the Moving Goalposts project in Kilifi County, the state of football in Kenya, and what needs to be done to improve grassroots football.
I've been in sports for over 30 years, maybe even 40. From the time I was a young man, I played sports in primary school, secondary school, high school, university, and even beyond my university career, in my working career. I have never been away from sports. My father was a sportsman. He played football, he played rugby, he played basketball. I took in those steps. My uncle Leonard Mambo, no need introduction, but he was also part of my upbringing in terms of sports. I used to enjoy listening to him, accompanying him to the stadium. Those days, City Stadium was the marquee stadium, yeah? And to be on Jogo Road watching ball was the it, yeah. So I'm not a stranger to sports, yeah. And for me, it has developed over the years. Being a player, I played rugby, I played soccer, I played basketball, and then coming in to be an official, a coach, a referee. I have even participated in netball, in trying to build netball in Kenya. So for me, sports is a big thing. It is in my DNA. I sleep, I wake up, I eat, I breathe, I drink. It's sports. I was fortunate that both my parents were sports people. My mother played netball in the Nairobi League. So I think both of them understood the need for sports, and at the same time, the need to ensure that academics were a priority. My advice to parents is allow your children, if they have a talent, allow your children to indulge in it, but they shouldn't overindulge. Control the balance, teach them personal responsibility, let them know that there's a time for sport and there's a time for books. And once, even as a parent, you can understand that and support them in both the activities, both the academic and both the sporting activity, then it's easier rather than push. The worst you can do to a child is push them to something and then they reject it. Then it becomes even harder. We come from a very patriarchal society that tends to ignore women in a lot of fields, more so sports. But having traversed the borders of this country, having traversed around the 47 counties in Kenya, I have seen a lot of talent in women. Our women are very talented. All they need is support. If you look at the Olympics, our women have started contributing to a lot of medals in the overall count. Otherwise, if we didn't have those medals from the women, sometimes our position would be very embarrassing. But you can see that our women, given a chance, can excel. For me, it is important to ensure, and I said it, structures for women's sport must be there and put in place, and resources must be doubled, tripled, quadrupled in order for us to develop the talent in women's sport. Women's football, our girls are doing so well without resources. Imagine if we motivated them even more, gave them the right environment, and put them in high performance training centers, we would be on top of the world. I'm confident that our girls' football or our women's football, certainly given the right support, and you can see FIFA are doing a lot for us to support women's football. Our ladies will get to the World Cup at either level, I'm sure. Moving the goalpost is a platform for women to empower themselves through sports. It's an amazing program that's based in Kilifi, where you have between 9 to 12,000 girls playing football, using sport to find themselves, using sport to build their confidence in life, and letting them know that they too have a talent and they can build for the future. It is empowering them, it is building their capacity, and it is making them more confident in life, especially when we know that, especially like in the coast or even in predominantly Muslim-dominated communities, women are not given that opportunity. But Moving the Goalpost has given them an opportunity. And certainly you can see the talent. You can see it is there. It is bringing about football development. It is bringing about life skills, as well as empowering them to have a better outlook towards life. I totally support. I think community buy-in is important. You know, women play many roles. They are mothers, they are sisters, they are wives, and they are the backbone of the home. So all those roles must be fulfilled, and then they have the opportunity to play football. So I think there's a need for community buy-in to lessen some of those burdens, so that girls can get first priority, first chance, first hearing to go and show their talent, showcase their talents. But for me, if fathers and mothers can accept and allow their girls to go play football, then we're off to a good start. Because out there, there's need also for families to feel secure that their girls going out there will come back unharmed. It's very, very important. Equal opportunity, equal pay. As long as women are playing sport, as long as they're out there showcasing their talents, then they should be paid. And they should be paid, I think, even more than men at times. Because as I said, their roles are even much more. But we need to also put in more resources into the women's football. We need to strengthen the structures. We need to better the product so that it can be marketed to be more attractive and bring in more resources to the game. There is no doubt about the women's talent. That one, there is no doubt. So let's build it up. I don't think we should be looking at women's football as a by the way, but it should be mainstreamed. I said it in my 5 pillars, or was it my 6 pillars, that women's football is key. It is key for the development of sport in this country, and it must be given an opportunity on its own, not as a by the way, but as a clear standalone. The only way to improve the quality of our football, players, coaches, referees, administrators, and other officials or football support systems, is to start at the grassroots. If we get the structures right at the grassroots, then over time, the top will start to see the quality. Because we must base it on quality right at the bottom. We have 47 counties, 290 constituencies, 1,450 wards. Now, if we start looking at quality of football right from the ward level and coming up, I'll go back, it's a pyramid. The quality starts at the bottom, the pyramid will grow. If we take an example and say from every county, let us look for 5 top footballers, men, 5 top footballers, women, I'm sure we'll get 10 times 47, 470. Surely we can at least get 10 exceptional footballers from every county. 5 men, 5 women. Then we create an elite base. Selection has to be countrywide, because talent is countrywide. And then from there is when now we are able to look at even higher levels of capacity and capability. But I'm sure if we were to do it that way, it would be a start. Sport is an industry. Football is big business. And if we get it right from the grassroots, we put in the structures, have involvement of the community. And the community is big. Business community, government community, county government community. Yeah. So we do a stakeholder mapping, identify who our partners are at that level. Then we start selling the idea. There is need to package football to make it attractive. Football can't be working around the world and not working here. Yeah, because we know it can. We have the basic building block, and that is the talent. We have the basic building block right at the bottom, and that is the football talent. So we start packaging it right from the bottom. We build it up. We get the right academies. We get the right coaches. We get the right referees. Other football support systems come into play. Then we are building. It is happening in other countries. It can happen in Kenya, and it must happen. But it takes a collective effort. Yeah, the football authorities cannot do it alone, and the government or the county governments cannot do it alone. It has to be together. The synergies must come together. We must have an overall strategic plan. We must have our own Vision 2030 for football, or is it Vision 2050 for football? Yeah, so that we can go the same direction. Yes, we want to go to the World Cup, so we must have a strategy, and it's long-term. Long-term initiatives are the ones that bear fruit. Short-term are expensive, costly, and more damaging. If we show that we can have a high level of governance in sport as a whole, and I'm not just talking just football, I'm talking about sport as a whole, then we will be able to have a lot of buy-in from corporates. We'll have buy-in from the government itself at a much higher level. Because if the government is willing to invest in sport, then the corporates will follow. But we must have the capacity also within government of understanding what sports can do to this economy, how important sports is and can be such a vital contributor to the GDP of this country. If we look at in the developed world, sports is a double-digit contributor to the GDP of those countries. You can know how much is being invested and how much is being earned from it. That's the direction we need to go. The priority for sport in a country like ours, it must be taken to the first level so that it becomes a national project. It becomes a national idea. We must eat, live, breathe sports because we have the talent. Already we are a global nation in terms of sports. We have been to the Olympics, not only in athletics, but other sports as well, team sports. And that is a major breakthrough. It shows we are a multidisciplinary sport nation, not just one sport. So we need the right people sitting in positions of decision making so that we can build the sport, so that we can have various sporting think tanks come together, yeah, and say, hey, what can we do to develop, build, at the same time making an economic win for the country. Africa is the granary of talent. It is the conveyor belt of talent. We do not just want to be seen to be producing the raw material or the raw talent. We also need to build the structures and organizations in Africa. I like what the NBA are doing, because the NBA is saying, hang on a minute, we can have a world-class competition in Africa rather than just people looking forward to come to the US. Let us invest in Africa. Let us invest in the facilities. Let us invest in building franchises, getting the talent to play in Africa. Not everybody can play in the NBA, but a lot more talent can play in a structured organization in Africa. We've seen various competitions in Africa. We've seen the AFCON and how popular it is. We've seen CHAN and how there are attempts to make it even a more effective organization in nurturing talent. It's those structures that we need to build. We've seen the Champions League, the Confederations Cup, and we've seen how quality teams, quality players are coming. But we need to invest more in terms of resources so that we can have investment in facilities. We can have investment in the game on the continent so that we're just not a conveyor belt of talent out of Africa, but also the talent in Africa must be able to showcase itself to the African. The African must see the African shine in Africa. It's all about packaging. It's all about how we package sport and how we put to place strategic plans. Because with strategic plans, then we'll know what to do in terms of infrastructure, and we'll know what to do in terms of administrative. We must also have a lot of capacity building. And also, we must attract our sportsmen who have now retired and are able to give back to the game. We must make it attractive for them to have a value proposition to see that they can actually come back to build the structures in the game. At times we have sportsmen who play, finish, and walk away from the sport because they know what they went through. But if we get more brains of like-minded people coming to build the sport, people who can sit together. I want to talk sports with similar-minded people, like-minded people, so that we can come together and put our synergies together. But the value proposition has to be such that one will find that it adds value. Our talent is there. So let's create the environment. And within the environment, then we can show that the structures are coming into play. Sport is business. It is the fourth biggest industry in the world. And why should Africa be left out? Sport is a career, like any other career. Doctors, engineers, lawyers, environmentalists. But the only difference with sport is it has a shorter lifespan, probably 10 to 15 years as an active sportsman, for some even less. We need to educate our sportsmen even more. We need to educate them on the life after sports and the opportunities for them. We need to build their capacity, even when they're playing as sportsmen, but also to build them to understand that after football or after basketball or after athletics, once the body cannot take any more, but life still continues, there are different opportunities. If they want to continue with the lives of in being involved in sport, then we look how we shall entice them to become coaches, referees, trainers, sports nutritionists, sports psychologists. As I said, it's an industry. It's an industry with remarkable opportunities. But we must have the basics in place. We must have the support systems in place. We must be able to empower our sportsmen to understand beyond football, beyond sport, life must continue. You must continue to fend for your families, and you must continue to live a life. So we must teach them entrepreneurial skills. If need be, we must take them back to school, because education is key. And that's why I went back to the beginning. Academics. The African sportsman is more disadvantaged than anybody else. So if we can ensure that he is also academically trained, academically sound, then he has a better chance of surviving after sport.